My name is Travis and welcome to another Guardian build video. Today I got something actually very special. I've been using this build for quite some time, and with Season of the Wish officially in and also the updates pushed, it's come with some nerfs, but it's also come with some benefits. And because of how fun this build is and how well it synergizes, I think this is actually better than my Controverse Holds builds. Let me show you what I mean. Let's break this down. Controverse Holds. Pretty crazy combination here, but this build is still really good. It's mainly used for endgame content though. You can't benefit from early game with this. You can't really benefit too much from mid game. I mean, you could with dungeons, but this really excels in like Grandmaster Nightfalls and stuff like that, where the rough gets going for sure. But this gives you one weakness, and is that you have to have the aspect Chaos Accelerant on your character in order to profit from any of this. This will give you really good damage resistance and give you grenade energy back, but you need to have Chaos Accelerant active in order to make this work. Otherwise, I have to run this to make this work. So that's what that is. This, you don't need that. You don't need to hold down a grenade. You don't really need to have those types of like crutches or requirements. Basically, this just says use a Void Soul, aim and shoot at an enemy with a Void Soul, let it suck the life out of that enemy. You can pick it back up and do it all over again. That's basically what it says. And it says, oh, by the way, you also can get more damage with the enemies that you kill that are affected by the same Void Soul that you sent out. And because the Void Souls also grant you grenade and melee energy, as we will go over, you basically just covered your steps with Controverse Holds. The only thing it doesn't give you is damage resistance, but it really doesn't need to. Let me show you. So, our Voidwalker subclass. We have Feed the Void. This will grant us health and grenade energy with each kill we get. The only thing we have to do is get a Void ability kill, which is pretty easy to do with this build, to be honest. We can get a kill with a grenade, we can get a kill with a melee if they're weak enough, and we can get a kill with our Child of the Old Gods, aka our Void Soul. And that will grant us Devour, which gives, like I said, gives us health and grenade energy upon kills. So, really fun to go with, really easy to use, little to no requirements. But guess what? You don't need this if you don't want it. You could use Chaos Accelerant since we're using a Vortex Grenade in this build. We can totally run with this, and this could still be just as effective. Why? Because we have another way of getting Devour. That's pretty much why. But if you're like me and want the consistency and the fun factor to be there, then we'll cook. We'll cook with Feed the Void. And for our other aspect, we have Child of the Old Gods. Basically, you send your child out to battle, and they will start to take... Sorry about that. They will take the energy away from the enemy, and in return give you grenade and melee energy. In the process, this will also mean that they will weaken enemies actively, which can feed into our fragments. Before we get to there, we're using Healing Rift, by the way, so this is what will allow us to get our grenade and melee energy back. And we're healing because of the Healing Rift. Burst Glide allows us to move around the battlefield easier. Pocket Singularity because, well, I think our Singularity took our other abilities away that we would have had. Wish we had more. And then Vortex Grenade, pretty much the reason why we're going to be using this build the way we are. Just a really good grenade. So we have Echo of Harvest. We're going to be weakening enemies through our Void Soul, so that will allow us to get an Orb of Power and Void Breach. Echo of Instability with our grenade kills. We will have weapons that will be given the debuff Volatile Rounds. And what volatile rounds do is that they give you more damage against regular enemies. If you are versing a barrier champion, this will also allow you to tear through their shields, as long as you have volatile rounds active. Echo of Undermining basically allows our grenades to weaken enemies, so now we have 2 ways of proccing Echo of Harvest. And Echo of Starvation basically states that when we pick up a Void Breach or an Orb of Power, this also grants us Devour. And for those who don't know what Void Breaches are, they're basically little tears that will give us class ability energy, and in this case, Devour when we pick them up. Alright, so that's our abilities. Let's hop on over to our mods. So for our helmet mods, we have Ashes to Assets. We get super energy when we get kills with grenades. Pretty cool. We got harmonic targeting, so when we're using our void weapons, this allows us to aim down sight better, so to speak, and to more accurately get our hits off. This works really well with precision weapons like sniper rifles and linear fusion rifles. But I mean, it's super useful with what I have, and you'll see why. And we have Harmonic Siphon. This is basically the Walmart version of Void Siphon. And if you get Void Rapid Weapon Final Blows or Void Weapon Kills, this will create an Orb of Power. So we have an alternative way of getting Orbs of Power. For each Orb of Power we pick up, that will create an Armor Charge, and Armor Charge is basically leftover energy that was stored for later usage. And we're immediately going to make use of it once we pick up the Orb of Power through our Font of Focus. This basically will essentially level up for about 10 seconds, and if you're using time dilation, it'll keep it up for about 15 seconds per armor charge, that is. Every Guardian carries up to 3 as a maximum, unless you have some type of extender mod to increase the amount of armor charges you carry. In this case, we're only carrying 3. So, because we don't have any extender mods like time dilation active, that means we have 30 seconds in total to make use of this Font of Focus. But every time we pick up an armor charge, it refreshes the timer. So as long as we're picking up orbs of power and gaining those armor charges, the longer we make use of this. So this will increase our discipline stat by 3 tiers. So because I have 85, that means it's going to go from 85 to 95, 105, 115. Honestly, anything past tier 10 really doesn't have a huge benefit. And in order for you to really see any real benefit, you have to really crank up your discipline. I'm talking like to 140 or tier 14 or higher. So just keep that in mind. This is mainly useful if your like discipline level is like, I don't know, 5, 6, or 7, because it really helps to make up the difference there. So yeah, this is always good to have if you want to keep the consistency of getting your grenade back. With firepower, we're gaining orbs of power after we get a grenade kill, which this also will play into our Echo of Harvest, which will give us 2 orbs of power, not just 1, with this mod. And we're also gaining ability energy, so class ability energy, when we damage enemies with our grenade, which by the way, our grenade will be weakening enemies at the same time. So this will definitely help with our healing rift. For our chest mods, I'm using the unflinching void aim, so this helps to reduce the amount of times I jerk to the side when I get hit by oncoming shots. This is mainly for my heavy weapon since it's void. This will allow me to carry more ammo for that weapon. And harmonic resistance, this is just to fill the slot in, but depending on the activity you're doing, should determine what resistance mods you should be using. So for our boots, I have insulation. Every time I pick up an orb of power, this will go ahead and lower the cooldown of my class ability, so I should be able to get it back faster. Same thing with innervation, it does just that except for grenade energy. And then Void Weapon Surge is just like the font mod. When we pick up an Orb of Power, it immediately makes use of the armor charge. And in this case, this will actually give us a flat 10% boost to the weapons that we have that are void. So like any void weapon we have, instantly will get 10% boost. And this should stack to any debuffs that we should have. So remember the Echo of Instability that I have, this should stack with Weapon Surge. So translation, it should do quite a bit of damage. For my class ability, I have Reaper and 2 Bombers. Reaper basically means that I use my Healing Rift, and the moment I can get a weapon kill after that, that will automatically spawn an Orb of Power. They did put a small nerf on Reaper, Firepower, and Bolstering Detonation, among other mods, so they will have a cooldown after their initial, like after their use. But to be honest, with the amount of action you're going through, I didn't really notice too much of the nerfs at all. So your mileage may vary, but Reaper is still a very good mod to have, and I will still recommend it. On the other hand, with the bombers, if you want, this just simply lowers the cooldown when you use your class ability, by the way, for your grenade in this case. If you want, you can replace one of these for something like Powerful Attractions. Powerful Attractions, when you use your class ability, so when you use the Healing Rift, in my case, it will just pick up all the orbs that are within a certain distance. I think it's like 15 meters. It'll pick them up, so that way you could just instantly gain the benefits from the Orbs of Power. But I'm focusing into the grenades, so that's why I have 2 of these. For weapons, I have Retrofit. This is my heavy weapon, so the reserves are going to really work for this. And I have 4th time's a charm, so basically landing those headshots or any crit shot will gain 2 back to the magazine for each of those rapidly landing hits. And then of course we ramp up in damage the longer we hold the trigger. So as you can see, these 2 effectively feed into each other, making this weapon really good. Let's see. Got Chroma Rush, fan favorite of mine, and Wellspring is basically the way to go with this weapon. You get ability energy for each kill you get. The only caveat is that this will be applied to all 3. So it will divide it up between all of your abilities. Uncharged, that is. And then of course to start the show, we have the Graviton Lance. I think last time you may have seen this, I had like about 5,000 or 6,000. As you can see, I've clearly used this weapon because this weapon is really good. With the volatile rounds, this thing hits like a truck. With the boost that it's gotten over the updates, it's become very viable as a weapon. And with the catalyst, you're getting a flat 20% boost when you're versing bosses because of Vorpal weapon. And then Turnabout gives you a shield when you're using this weapon to break shields. And then Cosmology basically turns enemies into small grenades, and if the grenades get a kill, that will spawn more grenades, and as you could probably see where that's going, it can easily clear rooms. And it should be able to proc Ashes to assets, so you get free energy without even using your actual grenade. Imagine that. So put all this together with this build, and you got a recipe for disaster. This thing is really good. And it's one of the reasons why I love this build. My recommendations for stats: try to get tier 10 in resilience, tier 10 in discipline, and tier 10 in recovery if you can. Keep in mind that Echo of Undermining does take this down by 2 tiers or by 20. So technically this is over 100 without it. But it is what it is. Here is my shaders, or oops, sorry, lack thereof, because this I think actually looks good the way it is. So yeah, this is the build. I pretty much don't use Controverse Holds anymore because of Briarbinds. I think it fundamentally does exactly what Controverse Holds does, with the exception that it does not give you the crazy damage resistance. But at the same time, it gives us optionality and it gives us some additional things that we can do with it. So yeah, I love this build. I hope you guys find some enjoyment in it too. If you have any recommendations or any builds that you would like me to build, then please put them in the comments below, like the video, and subscribe for more. I'll see you guys in the next video of whatever I decide to do. And until then, ta-ta for now.